Can cannabis be a source of inspiration to achieve our dreams? Coffee and Kush is rapper Jason Problem Martin's vision of cannabis and music mixed into a lifestyle of his own. It is a brand full of positive vibes to achieve success and a happy life. Jason Problem Martin created the brand in partnership with Jason McKnight, who has over 20 years of experience in the industry, being part of what is known as the traditional culture.
So tell me, how did you get involved in the cannabis world?
As far as me, the business of cannabis, I'm fairly new. The legal business of cannabis, I'm fairly new. But as far as as somebody that's born around cannabis, my mother was a grower. She's been growing since I was a child. I've always seen cannabis flowers around my house in my backyard. And then as I become an adult, I just started smoking a lot. You know, it just kind of kept me cool. It kept me away from doing other things. Then I transitioned to becoming an artist. And at first, like, you know, it just was something I do. I didn't know that it was a fad or anything like that. But I loved it. I like being a little higher than everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's why I can, you know, duck all the stuff that's going on down there. As far as the business, I recently entered maybe a year and a half ago. And green is an understatement, not really understanding the way it works, but just knowing that I did have a brand, and I knew that my brand, I've been aligned with the smoke gods, if that makes any sense, from Snoop to Wiz to Exhibit to Be Real, Burner, these people. I was like, well, you know, let's take my hand at it. Luckily, I was only in it 2, maybe 3 months before I bumped into my partner, Jason. And he's someone who has been in this, from traditional to the business side of it, to the legal side of it, for damn near 20 years. So he was been able to troubleshoot me in ways that I would have never been able to know, you know what I'm saying? So that's where we're at right now. Jason could take it from here. His answer is going to be way cooler than mine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so, you know, basically Jason McKnight, like Rob said, I've been in the industry for a little over 20 years. I've been involved with cannabis since around 1996 here in California.
Wow.
I'm originally from Southern California, but I moved to Northern California when I was a young man, a kid still, 12 years old. And I moved to a region in Northern California that they consider part of the Emerald Triangle. And that's where I was able to really get to understand the plant, the beauty behind it, and obviously the business side as well. At a young age, you know, we were around it because it was pretty common in the area that I'm from. And as I got a little older, you know, I started to work in the industry. I started to work with processing and cultivation. And I eventually was an individual who started to bring product from Northern California into Southern California. And it just, that's where it started, really. I've been cultivating in Southern California for the past 20 years. We started with the medicinal side. We call that the traditional side here. That was through Prop 215 in California. That was where we kind of worked with the caregiving platform, where we would have individuals sign up for us to grow cannabis for them. And it kind of just led into bigger and bigger and bigger things as the years went by. And my story started really taking off around 2006. That's when the city of Los Angeles started to give out licensing for people to open up storefronts. And at the time, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, who is pretty much, you know, the main catalyst behind making things happen for me in my life when it comes to any type of paperwork, the more corporate style of business. And we were able to get our first license. That was short felt because the things in this industry, you guys understand, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of clarity is not a strong suit for cannabis. People, you know, with the laws and everything else that goes into producing the product here, the plant, it was very murky times. We didn't know exactly how to go about doing things the right way. So we kind of developed what you see today. You know, a lot of people like myself, we were at the front of the battle to legalize cannabis here in California. And we're still battling every day to try to legalize it across the entire United States. But one thing about my story is I'm a social equity cannabis license now in California, because around 2015, I was raided by local authorities, and I was obviously arrested. It was a challenging time in my life, myself, my family. I became a felon. I was put in a situation where my children were taken from me, and we fought very, very hard for a number of years to try to correct that. And in the process, I was incarcerated. My wife was also put in a really bad situation, and she was given some charges as well. And we fought and we got through it, and I was extremely blessed. Here I am now. I have one of the biggest grows in Los Angeles. I've gotten back on my feet, and we were able to link up with Problem not too long ago, and it's just been a dream. It's been everything that we've been working for, everything we fought for. I'm sure if, we had more time, I can give you more detailed information about myself and my fight. But, in terms of just the company, that's my experience in cannabis. That's what I've gone through to get to this point. And our goal is to produce the best cannabis in the world, and to be able to share that with people throughout the entire world one day. Problem came to me with his vision of coffee and Kush. And my position in this is to be able to give the consumer, the market, the best product they could possibly smoke, or whatever type of way we're going to deliver it to them. We're going to do infused products. We may do gummies one day. We may do infused coffee. We don't know, but we're going to give them the best product that we possibly can. And I'm extremely blessed to have Problem on my side. And I think it's just a matter of time before this thing really, really takes off. We have a lot of positive energy. The product is amazing. I can't wait to give you ladies some of it one day. Next time you touch down in LA, we got you. But that's my story. And you guys go ahead. That's it. If you have any other questions, we'll go.
Wow, that's an amazing story.
Wow. Yeah.
We have been working on our most recent issues, basically talking about the social equity issue that it's currently in everybody's mind, basically. We had a very interesting interview with Mr. Steve D'Angelo back in December. He was our personality of the year last year. And that was a theme that was really, that got to us when we were writing that interview, when we were editing the interview, the fact about, the criminalizing and expungement of people that have been charged with cannabis, felonies, and now they don't have the opportunity to become legal in the market. How you, Jason, basically your story is amazing. It gives me chills just remembering what you just told us. How do you feel about how the industry is going right now regarding the social equity and the legacy versus legally, versus legal thing that is going on right now?
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. They're very slow to correct the issues. And there was a lot of harm done to individuals and families, and it's not just that. This has been going on in America, and I'm sure in other places as well, for a numerous amount of years. A numerous amount of families have been affected by these archaic laws, I would say, that criminalize cannabis when it's medicinal. And I think that the government is having a hard time with social equity because we're capitalistic. They want to make their money. They want to be able to continue to tax us at an extremely high level. And the issue is, it's hard for them because they make so much money off of all that incarceration. They make so much money by giving out tickets. So they're having a hard time figuring out how do we replace that without taxing or without helping people in the social equity side of things. Here in LA, I think LA, maybe Oakland, they're the most forward thinking. They're the most aggressive when it comes to social equity, but they're still far behind. It's extremely difficult to make a business in this industry because you're fighting, you know, specifically for social equity candidates like myself. I have multiple felonies. It was not easy for me to get to where I've gotten. And because I have a large group of people helping me, it was a little bit, I was able to make it happen. But I know a lot of brothers and sisters out here that can't, that they don't have the resources. And that's where the issues really stem from: lack of resources, lack of really implementing a system that's going to make it nice and easy to transition from the traditional market to the recreational legal market. You know, we're being taxed at an extreme high number. It's expensive to get a license. It's expensive to do an application. And everything is tenfold more than what it would cost to start a regular business. And when you're talking about social equity, some of the things that we had to really get to have in our favor were not things that were going to make it easy for us to start a business. You know, one, being a felon or having a criminal record, that's right there. They marked you. So that's going to be first thing. You know, you're not going to be able to get any banking because it's cannabis. So that's the second thing. So there's no way to get money. And they're really not sure how they're going to use the money that's coming in from the taxes to help us either. The types of grants that are out there, very small numbers in comparison to what a social equity candidate would need to start a business. And then also the education side of it. You know, there's so much to it that requires you to be educated. And there's not a lot of resources, in my opinion, helping people get through that part. And, you know, business is not easy. And when you're dealing with people with money, you got to understand one thing about them is they're not going to give you a break. And people are getting taken advantage of. And that's something that bothers me as well, because I know a lot of social equity candidates that have gotten the short end of the stick by getting into bed with the wrong people.
Yes,
Right.
problem. I would like to know your opinion also, please, about this issue.
I mean, it sounds like the typical justice system. Let's make sure the others get their money first before they allow the colors to get their money. And that's what it seems like. It's like, okay, let's keep changing the laws. Let's keep abruptly shifting them and shaping them and making it difficult for a Black person, for a Spanish person to get their money in this business until we figure out how to do it. And that's what it sounds like, man. It's just like everything. It's like it's oppressing the oppressed. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like they haven't figured out a way to properly tax this thing. So until they do, we're going to be sitting here waiting for it to actually go federal and do it the right way. The social equity situation, it already doesn't even make sense. It's just like the notion goes, if you give somebody $1 million, they'll be broke in 2 years just because they don't know how to have that money. They don't know how to do. They don't know what it's like because you didn't earn it. It's the same thing like handing somebody a license knowing that they've never used it before. It's not fair. You get what I'm saying? And the people that handing it to, if you got to think, if you put it in a lower income, you give it to somebody with a lower income part of the city, right? That means they don't have the 150 to 250,000 to even start the business. So they're just sitting there with it. It's not fair. And then you're not even giving them the opportunity to properly just sell it to people that can do it the right way. There's so many stipulations, and you're basically just sitting there with a gold nugget, just holding it, but you can't do anything with it. Just have to stare at it. That's the part for me that I think is fucked up and interesting at the same time. You know what I'm saying? I think at some point they're gonna have to hit the switch. and they're going to have to take the back seat on how this thing really goes. And they're going to have to hand it over in trust into the minority people that have been running this business before they got over here. You get what I'm saying? And I think that's a tough pill for the government, for white people to swallow. And that's just me being as frank as I can be. I think once everybody realizes, look, just let the people that know how to do this do it, and everybody will be helped. That's the day this will be a beautiful time. You know what I'm saying? It's billions and billions of dollars being fucking generated by people that are not a part of this culture. Like, for me, Jason is on this call because I don't think it's fair for me to just do this call alone when this man actually has fucking whole family has been on the line. So I'm going to use what I can to shine light to his situation so he can explain it properly so we can get this shit fixed. You know?
Yeah, I understand. I understand you perfectly. Regarding this issue, like you said right now, there's this inconsistency on how social equity works, because since it's not federally legal, right? Each state has its own particular manner of doing it, and some programs don't look like the others, and they don't solve the real problem. But do you think that those bills that are right now being evaluated by Congress and government, and do you think that will get some fix on this issue, or do you think that really going federal will really work things out?
Me personally, that remains to be seen. I don't have a real thought on what is gonna what do I hope happen? I'm just gonna go with the history of just how the country works. And it's just like anything. You just gotta hop off the porch and you just gotta begin. And then you work the kinks out. I don't think it's gonna be perfect the first 5 to 10 years, not at all. Like I just if we can just go back to the prohibition and how long they took to get the alcohol thing right. It's just, you have to pull from history to kind of know how it's gonna go. But I think if government involves the real players, like really putting together a board of people that monopolize on the traditional side of things, and then putting them with the people that just know business, and like really making sure there's an equal fair. Because I don't think minorities we're not talking about, we don't want white people to make money. We just don't want them to be the only ones. And I think that's where a lot of this stems from, and it's a real quick fix of just making sure the conversations are fair and sincere. You know what I mean? I think that's what I'm more of an advocate, but I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen, man. It's so wild.
I understand.
You know, my take on that is, you know, with the federal government getting involved, it's a toss-up. We don't know what direction they're going to go. Who's the president at the time when they legalize it? Who's in charge of Congress? Who's in charge of the Senate? Because we have two different parties in this country that are extremely different. So we don't know what is really going to happen until it happens.
Right.
You know, when it comes to social equity and the federal government getting involved, my fear is at that moment when they hit that switch, and I believe when they do hit that switch, it's going to be simply that, it's a switch. That's when you're going to see the big players with bigger money than you've ever seen in the history of this industry come out and be like, we want our piece. Because that's another product of cannabis, is what's going to happen to the tobacco and the alcohol world and these guys that have been controlling this world for 100 years. That's real old money. They want their position at the table. And once they come to start being involved, that's going to be, I don't know what to expect at that point, because the amount of money that will be put into this will really be a detriment to some of the smaller guys for sure. And social equity is probably going to be hit hard unless the federal government steps up and they get on the same page with what we're talking about right now, and what Prob said, and just giving people an opportunity to be at the table and regulating it to a certain degree. But, you know, once it goes legal nationally, we don't know if what's going to happen with just having products shipped from other countries. We just don't know what's going to happen. So I don't have much of my guess is like anyone else's. We don't know. And, but there's going to be a lot of money involved, and that's something to think about. Because right now you're looking at a lot of privately operated companies, you know, a lot of private money straight out of people's pockets have been put into this thing. And we're just starting to see a little bit of that on the East Coast, where you're seeing people go private and go public. Go public. We're not seeing that in California. And I think there's a lot to be said about what happens when it goes legal and how that approach starts, because I don't know if social equity will be able to survive that type of money.
Yeah, it's let's see, it's exciting to see how the industry can develop and where it can go, right? But at the same time, I think it always keeps us like a little this risk in the back of our minds, and breathing in our necks of how the big tobacco companies and the big pharmaceutical companies could get into the market and just mess everything up just to get the money.
Well, they're going to be able to approach things differently. Like if you look how they run business now, it's all about volume, and it's all about the lowest cost of doing it and how cheap they can sell the product. Like Walmart, for example. What happens when that's involved, like cannabis? Because that's never happened. Cannabis has always been something that was, risque. You had to put your ass on the line to do this. There was value there, always value. Risk versus reward. Once it's federally legal, that risk is taken away. Who knows? It's scary, because once it becomes a commodity and pharmaceutical companies get involved and they can do what they do already, we don't know what's going to happen. But for us to, creating Coffee and Kush and creating a brand like that is our avenue to be able to stay in the market no matter what happens.
All right.
I have a question now that you mentioned again your brand, and how did you come up for the idea of Coffee and Kush?
Well, man, it's a crazy story. I'm a rapper that used to be up all night partying, studio, doing, the unthinkable till about 5 a.m. So I went through a different transition where I was just trying to will myself off the lifestyle and being in that. And it went from me actually going to sleep at 5 a.m. to waking up at 5 a.m. I recently got married, a lot of different things that happened in my life. So I actually got some structure about it. So what I would do when we wake up, we would walk to coffee shops like every morning. That way I can get my date in, I can have an exercise real quick. And, it's just adding something new to just this new life I'm living. So I would go every morning, coffee, like just have some coffee, get up, walk. But, sometimes I would smoke. So my wife would get mad, like, why are you getting high? Why are we going to do this? I'm like, man, it's a bunch of high people in here. It was a joke we were saying. So one day I'm in there reeking of cannabis. And then this older gentleman just walked over and said, man, I love your cologne. And so we just started talking. He just started talking. Older white guy. We started talking. And then went to a Pete's coffee shop. The same thing. Armenian man walked up. Man, I really like your cologne. You start noticing it was a bunch of different people that were doing the same thing, but just way earlier in the morning. So when I would get back, I would record. Like I set up my recording sessions from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So I would get back and I was just talking different. I was rapping over different beats. It was just different conversation. I was noticing a lot of things. Like my friends ain't even up. Like, wait, what's going on? So this style of music was new for me. So I just decided to call it Coffee and Kush, because this is what I was doing every morning. But before going outside with the project, it was like, wait a minute, let's really think about it. Let's go business side of it. The people that I were talking to, this is the 3 years I was seeing the same people every morning. And they didn't look like they were hurting for money or their life was bad. They looked like this is a comfortable thing they do. Smart people, educated people, different people, multicultural people, all having one common goal. It's like, well, shit, the business of coffee is humongous. It's $1 billion business. The business of cannabis is humongous is $1 billion business. If we put these two together, this could be something humongous. You get what I'm saying? The new car, like I look at it as like the new, I don't know if you guys have this out there, but chicken and waffle. Like that's what it is for us. It's like putting these two worlds together that you think they don't go together, but they actually taste real good together. So for me, the coffee keeps me up, and then the Kush drops me down to where I'm balanced and focused, but I still got my buzz. You know what I'm saying? So I can kind of navigate through the different businesses, my family stuff, everything I have to deal with for this village I created. So it's like, wow, coffee and Kush. Well, shit. I like music. It sounds new. This feeling is new. I don't drink no more. I'm able to curve a lot of the things that I used to want to do. I don't have to do. Then I went to Amsterdam and I said, whoa, this is what I need. This is it. This is what coffee and Kush is. So I came back and said, well, I want to do a shop. I want to have a coffee shop. I want to have where you can consume. And then you just start building out the world. So you have music, you have content, you have products. Like this can be something that can actually clean up the cannabis game. It now makes it sexy. It now makes it less dangerous. It looks like, wait, I drink coffee and I do smoke a little bit. I brought so many new people out of the closet, if that makes any sense. It's a comfortable spot. And it all stems back from what I used to watch my mom do before I went to school. She would drink some coffee and be smoking a joint. She felt comfortable doing it because back then she would get judged like crazy, like, oh, your mom smokes weed and all this type of stuff. I would hear that a lot. But then my mom was owning several properties around the hood. So it's like, who's really doing something wrong? So a place for her to come now and enjoy what she does all makes sense from a personal level, a financial level, and just for a creative level.
That is so great.
For me, coffee and Kush is the culture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard that, but for me, coffee and Kush is the culture. That's a lifestyle I've been living myself. So when he brought brought this to me, I was just like, man, this is it. This is how I've been living. Every day I've been getting up. We call it wake and bake, and then I drink some coffee, and that was how I dealt with life.
Right.
In a positive way, staying in my lane and still doing what I had to do to be successful. You know, we're still gonna, the thing about cannabis is, we're still going to work. We're still working hard. We're still, using it for just the mental of dealing with all that we have to deal with on a day in, day out basis. And I drink a lot of coffee too, because I got to keep going. And so when he brought that to me, I just couldn't say no to not being involved in this. And it's amazing because it's like he was saying, cannabis and coffee, that's everyone in the world. I don't care what walk of life what country you come from, what language you speak, what level of education. Everyone can relate to those two things, and we do it together. We do it together, and that's the thing. It's a tribal mentality. Like, we all drink coffee together. We all smoke cannabis together, and I can be in a room with strangers, and we will spark up a conversation. And that's what we're doing.
Join us too.
Right?
Let's spark that join the conversation.
That's really inspiring. We all in this.
Yep, that's right.
Really inspiring that.
So for me, that's it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask because I'm really curious. I think connection is very important in our lives. So I'm gonna ask, do you think there is a connection between your music career and your relationship with cannabis?
Totally. I think the like-minded smoke together, and I've been able to kind of drift towards that way in hip hop. I'd love to. I wouldn't say I need to smoke to do music. I wouldn't ever say that, but I definitely enjoy it while I'm doing music. You know what I'm saying? It'll always be interweaved in there because I've never seen it as something that was wrong. Again, if your mom's doing it, it doesn't seem like it's a bad thing, especially if she's successful in doing it. So haphazardly, I've just always had a joint. It wasn't like part of my image. You know, some people think I gotta light the joint before I start the. Nah, it was just I had my weed. It would be mine because this is what I do. This is how I watched my mom, my dad, and his friends, how they did their thing. So yeah, I think it'll forever be intermingled in my culture. Like for me, like as a father, much rather my daughter's smoking a joint than drinking alcohol or smoking a cigarette or popping pills or doing anything like that, because I've just never seen anybody overdose off of cannabis. And I got babies that's in college and stuff. So, you know, not that I say go get high. I'm not saying that. But if you got to make a choice, you know, I would rather them go that way.
I have a question regarding that aspect of how you say you grew up with it. I mean, it's part of you. It's part of how you lived your life. It's so interesting how people that have known cannabis from very young age and people that are getting to know now, how surprised they are about what the stigma that it has accompanied the plant for so long. And that now it's being, you know, slowly clearing away. How would you present the plant and cannabis to a person that has had this negative view of it for so long?
I think that's the importance of adding the coffee to it, because the coffee is deemed safe, if that makes any sense. I think it gives a business mindset look to it, as opposed to the slacker, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo type vibe to it. You know what I mean? I think that's an important way. And I think what us traditionalists, we like to be as stoned as possible. We got to understand that everybody else doesn't want to get that high. And I think that's important when creating these products and when introducing them to the newer people, the newer thinker. I have a friend right now whose mother is going through some different things, and he wants her to try a cannabis type way of healing her, but she's so against it, and you know, it's a scary thought. You know what I mean? Because on the other end, I have my wife's 94-year-old grandma that I give CBD pills to, and I give, you know, THC pills to, and she feels better. She's walking all over the place. It's something to see. So just, I think you lead in how it can help more than how it can get you stoned when talking to the new consumer. That's gonna separate who's gonna really win in this business. Because those that know, it's just like the liquor business. You got people that want 1942, then you got people that want beer.
Exactly. Yeah, I understand what you're saying perfectly. But what do you think it's would be like a positive approach to make to spread the word about how beneficial the plant is? Because we are in the business of, you know, educating people. This Cannabis World Journals, basically, our parent company is Pharmacology University, and our goal is to educate people about the plant, educate them about the beneficials of medicinal cannabis, and try to spread the word beyond America's borders. So what do you think is a good approach to make the plant more accessible to people?
To make it more accessible, I would say don't force. You just don't force. Like anything that feels forced just doesn't work. The guerrilla style of marketing won't work here. It'll gravitate, like that's the thing about the plant. It'll find who wants to be in it. You know what I mean? It'll eventually find its place. Just keep all the things. This is how I look at marketing anything. Long as the successful, cool, and healthy people are doing it, everybody else will want to do it. You get what I'm saying? And you just have to keep winning while doing it. I think you have to show the effects of not doing it. There's people that take tons and tons of medicine all day, and you got me that I don't really take much. There's health benefits. Like we lean on the positive when talking to the new consumer. I think just stay in the positive and don't force. Like that's what anything. A good product will find you. It will find you. Just make sure and just. I think another thing that I'm really nervous about, once all these things go federal and the big grows come, I just don't want the weed to get bad. Like, I think that's the problem. That's the biggest fear for the day one smoker, like the one that's been getting high. We're like, please don't just start. You're already fucking it up a lot. Can we just like, let's maintain some type of quality at some point. Just, it can't get lower than this. You get what I'm saying? And then we'll be fine.
Yes, you're gonna be fine. So tell me, what are your plans for coffee and Kush with the current expansion of legalization in the USA?
We plan to take coffee and Kush around the world. Right now, we're toggling back and forth between the names and what it will be called. Right now, I think we like either coffee and Kush or Jason's for the name of the establishment, where you'll be able to consume your coffee and in the dispensary in the back. We're looking to open these by the dozens globally, not just here in the United States. I think a Starbucks style dispensary, it's what's the future for us. Once the consumption licenses and the laws loosen up a tad, we'll be able to add that lounge area in the middle where you can consume your coffee and your joint on site. That's the dream. That's the vision. That's the big picture for coffee and Kush. And then that takes care of everything. We'll have a home spot for all our brands, and we'll develop this well-balanced community of early risers and quick thinkers, and putting them all in one place. I just want to see the art and the conversations that come out of these communities that's getting built. You know what I'm saying? Like Jason said earlier, this is a village. We're creating our own culture here that will move the way we move. And we're not really concerned with who doesn't want to be involved. We're more speaking of who wants to
come. You mentioned before Jason, the other Jason, mentioned that you wanted to go into edibles and, expanding in that. How do you feel about what is going on right now with edibles part of cannabis, how it's growing with beverages and gummies, but also food and chefs, infusing food and catering? How do you feel about that part of the market?
Me personally, I think that with the development of these different products, it really advances the market. It's going to allow more people to enter consumption. Some people don't want to smoke, some people prefer the edible route. Some people are going to like tinctures. Some people are going to like beverages. It's just giving people an opportunity to enjoy the benefits of cannabis, however they want to take it in. Is going to open a bigger lane for us to make it available to people. So I know it's going to take off because I've seen it firsthand in what I do right now. We do a lot of manufacturing at our facility for brands and other brands that are in the industry as well. We see them, developing different ways of using the product. We have a lot of infused products. Right now, it's extremely, people are looking for high THC, strong cannabis, and we're doing a lot of infused pre-rolls. And that's something we're going to be dropping with the Coffee and Kush brand first. That's going to be our first different SKU than just straight flower. We're doing an infused blunt, which is exciting. And I think that's just the start. And we obviously know we can develop more SKUs is what we call them, more opportunity, more product for the brand itself. And, you know, there's so many different ways, because once we start extracting and we start doing all the stuff that we do with it, you know, we could easily add it to food. You know, I've been to these dinner where a chef infuses all the different items, and you know, people like that stuff. You know, people enjoy it, and I think that's gonna expand as legalization comes and the market starts to open. You're gonna see a lot of that. But like what Prab was saying, we want to make sure whatever we do, we want to have it at a high level, and that's the thing about us. We're connoisseurs. We want to smoke the best. We want to always take in natural, clean product so that it doesn't affect us in a negative way. So that's a fear we obviously have when federal legalization comes. So we're going to be looking for ways to develop new products and clean products and high quality products. So I think you're going to see a lot of expansion with edibles.
That's really fabulous. That's really fabulous. So we're still in the new year. So what do you expect from the cannabis industry from this year?
Honestly, I think we're gonna go federal faster than everybody else is thinking. I think it's gonna come very, very quick. I think within the next year, this thing will be federal. That's what I see. I also see that the growers and the brands are gonna all have to like come to a mutual respect, I think, for each other real soon, because in a minute we're gonna need each other. You get what I'm saying? Because we're gonna go like Jason said earlier, we're gonna have to play with the big boys in a minute. You know what I'm saying? Once this thing goes federal. So just understanding the importance of each one and the solidarity and understanding that we're not in competition. I think that's though we all want to be the best, I don't think we're in competition. I think I'm saying, yeah, does that make any sense? Everybody wants to have the best weed and everybody wants the best brand, but we don't want you guys to not have the best either, if that makes any sense. I think the minute we adapt that as a whole culture, like take the real D-boy access, the D-boy aspect out of it and just understand we're all getting money, this could honestly be the cultural gold rush for all the minorities. This is something we've been doing way longer than them. So you have the upper hand. So just understanding business and understanding everybody, I think that's gonna happen this year with the culture. I think, and then we can all fly and all make money and just be high and happy. You know, that's what cannabis is. And I don't want this federal thing to turn this into something dark. You know, I don't want the rush to get the bag just to turn everything dark. You know what I mean? That's not what cannabis is. Cannabis is not death, it's not murder, it's not nothing dark. It's all flying high and being on a high vibration. So keeping that intact on the business side, everything will be okay. And they need to free these people though. I hope they start freeing these people. Like I don't think it's fair for people to be lying in jail for something that people are making money out of. It's just not fair. So that's my hopes for this year. I'll say that more so than what's gonna happen.
I see things changing fast this year. Like he said, legalization is going to come before we know it. I think, you know, it's going to get harder for the farmer. That's
for it.
Yeah. So, you know, these are the things that we, you know, there's a lot of fear out here, but we're just going to focus on what we do best and let that do the talking for us, and we'll be fine.
That's it.
Guys, I have a question. Well, let's see. Since all we've talked about is giving opportunity to those that don't have it, and how social equity has, you know, it's a difficult issue, and your personal story, Jason. What would you recommend, or what would be the advice that you give people that want to get into the industry? Or let's put it this way, not the people that want to get in the industry not knowing about the plant, but who just did the same, you know, those minorities, those people that know the plant from many years, that have cultivated it before legalization and want now to become legal. What is your recommendation to them?
You know, educate yourself. You have to understand the system that you're entering into. This isn't what we've been doing, and it's not something that you need to go in blind, not understanding the laws, the regulations, how to do the licensing. So, you know, you really got to educate yourself on that side of stuff, the legal aspect. But then you better be ready to learn how to do some business, because people are going to approach you in a way that's different than anything that we've ever seen in the streets. You're gonna if you're fortunate and lucky enough to get into a room with people that come from corporate America with that type of money, and you're looking to raise capital, you really have to be educated in your ability to have that conversation. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost and they lose out on opportunity, because, you know, that's the hardest part about transitioning from the traditional market to the legal market, is who we're going to have to deal with now. You know, us traditional guys, we deal with people that were like-minded, in the sense that, you know, you really couldn't survive on the streets if you weren't with the streets. But, you know, now you're going to be in this corporate room, which is, they're a whole different type of dog.
Totally different.
And you gotta understand that what we do out here isn't going to work with them. So you gotta adjust. You gotta keep it real about who you are, but educate yourself and understand that they need you. If you're in the room, they need you. They want you. So just be prepared to get the best you can out of that situation by knowing what you're talking about. It's going to be harder for people. I'm not going to lie. You know, I mean, they've given us a few years to kind of like figure it out, and those people are starting to figure it out. And now there's people with money really figuring it out. So I tell anyone that's getting into it, be prepared to work hard, to understand you're going to have to do more than you've ever done to be accepted by these people as well, because they don't, you know, that's just the way it is. They don't really want us here.
Yeah.
So be prepared to fight for what you believe in, but educate yourself, because that's the secret to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the key, educating yourself. I agree.
And now the other side of the coin, what would you recommend to the people that are seeing this industry as an opportunity and don't know anything about the plant or are just learning about it? What would you say to them? Would you invite them into it? Would you welcome them?
Me personally, yeah, I do this every day. You know, we're hiring at a high number right now. We're bringing in people that have never done anything in this industry to start working for us, whether that's through the cultivation side, the manufacturing side. So yeah, I'm opening my arms, you know, to all people that want to get involved. It's just, you know, for me, it's like you got to start at the bottom to really figure this out, and you got to learn as much as you can, because you can only go as far. It goes right back to what we just said. You got to educate yourself. The people that come, I'm welcoming people. I'm teaching people, because I can't do this by myself no matter what. I have to have a team of good people around me. And, you know, and since it's a new thing, we're starting to see more people come to it. I'm seeing people getting out of fresh out of college, looking for jobs. I'm seeing, you know, people that have older women that have been doing different odd jobs, and now they're in it with us. You know, every walk of life, every race, every, you know, age doesn't matter. I'm seeing it. I have employees that are in their mid 50s right now working for us, and that just started doing this for the first time in their life. And they're some of the best people I have around me. But, you know, for anyone that's getting into it, try to find your lane, find out what you're passionate about, and try to do that. Because you really got to pick whatever you're best at. and try to find a way to do it.
Well, thank you so much for that answer. It's really, it's hopeful. It's a hopeful view, and I like it.
Very inspiring, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Well, we have one last question, and I think it has, I think it will be a really nice way to close off the interview. How do you see the future of the industry? Not just like we talk about legalization and all that, but the future as a whole, you know, 5, 10, 20 years from now, how do you see it? Are you hopeful about it? Do you see it bright? What's your point of view in that? And for both of you, for both Jasons.
You can go.
You know, I'll start, I guess. But for me, it's going to be a future where my children's children they couldn't even fathom what happened to us. That's something so distant that they know that's the way that they've approached cannabis for the last 100 years, that's going to be the same way people view how horrible they approach some of the things that they've done to people in this country in the past as well. So I think the future is bright. I think that this is going to turn into something amazing. We're going to find different ways to use cannabis through hemp. We're going to change the world. We're going to find ways to produce products that have nothing to do with smoking, but just, making paper, clothing, cars, whatever it is. And most importantly, our children, the youth, they don't even understand why any of this was ever criminalized. And that's my goal, and that's what I believe is going to happen.
I think to add to what he said, everything he said, and I just think higher people are just happier people. So I just think it's just going to be a different change, a different mentality. It's something about this plant that just keeps everything cool. And in a world that just enjoys chaos, I get why it's scary. But I think everybody needs to chill and everybody needs to be a little more happier. And if this can be the next wonder flower that does it, I'm just happy to be a part of it with such a well-knowledge, well-versed guy, Jason. So that's what I see. I see coffee and Kush being here for 30 years.
It's a lifestyle, man. It ain't going nowhere.
Man. It ain't going nowhere.
So, thank you, ladies. I appreciate you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been a really awesome interview.
Really honor.
Yeah, it has been really an honor. Meeting both of you and seeing your perspectives and how you live with the plant and how you take from it all that it's positive. That's really awesome. I think one last thing that I wanted to know, and this is off our record questions. Jay, problem. This is with you. You had a hiatus in your career as a singer, as a rapper, and now you're beginning again. What are your plans for your career right now, and where do you see yourself going artistically?
You know what? I think y'all should just watch. It's gonna be interesting. I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to give too much away. I think everything is very exciting, and everything will be derived around this current lifestyle of coffee and Kush. So just stay tuned. Keep your eyes peeled over here. We're gonna be introducing a lot of new things and new music, new content, and just introducing fly new people like Jason to the world.
Great, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this is basically the end of the interview. We want to once again thank you so much for this opportunity.